there, sweet friends. Welcome back, or welcome back if you're new. I hope you're all well. We're going to work on some planner listers for the new year. In today's video, we've got a shortcut from the Dollar Tree, and then we also have something to make this much more functional and practical and sturdy for use. And so we have some nice inserts here, and this is my shortcut. I've got a planner from the Dollar Tree. This has calendars in it, and so this is going to be a nice addition for those of us who are not always successful at keeping up a planner. This is pretty much the basic, simplest form. It has those calendars and some line pages, and I have added additional inserts here with pockets so you can have other things besides your list. And take this along with you. It's much more sturdy and much more functional because we're going to give it a nice glossy finish. And so if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we will make it together. The two things I have for my planner lister today is going to be this monthly planner. That's our shortcut from the Dollar Tree. And for me, that value of $1.25 goes a long way toward getting something finished quickly. And so this is just a regular planner, has a soft cover. There are calendar days here that you would fill out, and that makes it fairly ideal if you are going to start at a different time than the first, and then the remainder of this little planner is going to be lined sheets. Of course, if you are doing a planner, then you would not have enough sheets for every day anyway, so it makes sense to kind of enhance this, add some more additional sections so that this will be a practical use all year round. Now, it is a odd size. I don't know where they arrived at 4.13 by 5.65, and I'm not going to do that math. And so I'm just going to take that measurement and then round up to a normal number that we can use for our measurements. And like I said, this was $1.25, so a very good value. I'm also going to use this Avery self-adhesive laminating sheets. And so this is already sticky. You do not need a laminating machine for this. I will attempt to find something on Amazon that I can link. I know we've had this for so long. I believe it did come in handy for something my boys did. Might have been school, might have been Boy Scouts. I'm not really sure, but I know this is going to really level up that cover. And so that will make it much easier and more sturdy to throw in my bag. I want to take this out if I want to go to the store. I want to be able to have this cover protected, and this shiny surface will do just that. So as I mentioned, that is such an odd sort of measurement, and I just rounded up for that. And so I'm going to start with a piece here of heavy duty cardstock, and it is 6 inches high by 9.5 wide. I scored it at 4.5 and also 5. So I'm going to get a depth of 1/2 inch, and that's going to be perfect to accommodate the layers that I want to put inside. And you may say to yourself at this moment, gee, that looks a little flimsy. Not to worry, we're going to take care of that when we get to the next step. But first, what I want to do is add my pretty pattern paper to the cover, and pay very close attention here. There will be a different measurement for the outside than there is for the inside. And the reason for that is I want a larger border, so that I have more room for that laminating sheet to stick down and be well secured. So I'm going to start with this pretty pattern paper. I'm just using some single-sided patterns that I had in my stash. I really love these larger patterns, and I do have a challenge working with them because I like to layer. And so this is an opportunity for me to use what that pretty pattern is about. And so the measurement for this is going to be 5 3/4 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to add this to the front and the back. So it is going to have a nice consistent look. And you can see here that we're going to get a much bigger border than what we typically do. And so that will help give us the space we need for that laminating sheet. So let's put the back on as well. I did a little bit of arranging when I cut these so that I would have most of the bird showing if I could, or at least enough so that it wasn't cut in an awkward place. So now what you got is your full outside cover, and I would consider really burnishing this in with your score tool. Make sure that it's really well adhered, And then you're going to bring in that laminating sheet. And this is what it looks like. I'm sure you've all seen these for school projects or what have you, but it is glossy on one side and tacky on the other. And so you would just peel this piece up. Now, I think if you took a minute or so, you could cut this down closer to the size and it would be more manageable. But I have a very bad habit of hanging on to stuff when it isn't really useful. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get this lined up and cut it and then throw away the excess, because I don't need that kind of scrap hanging around, taking up room in my stash. And this is going to make it pretty easy, because I'm just going to line that up right along that tear sheet there. And that will help me to keep it straight and even. I'm working it over, slowly pressing it into place. I don't want to get any air bubbles in there. It's not really hard to get positioned actually in. So once you have that in place, really press that down well so that you get a good contact, especially around the outside and then down that spine. And so because I have pre-scored this, it's going to make it really easy to fold. And so I would recommend getting these titanium scissors. This is what I'm going to use to cut through that laminating sheet. And because it's sticky here, I don't want to get my regular scissors all gummed up. Thought I had my glasses, but of course I don't. So I'm just going to be very careful and cut right along this edge. And now you can see what I would have been left with as a scrap probably would not have been very useful anyway. And so I don't really mind getting rid of it. Now I'm just going to turn that corner and cut all the way back up to where that tear sheet was. Remove that excess again. And then one final turn gets you to that tear sheet, and you just want to cut that off as well. I was able to cut the pieces for the cover from one 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So this is a really good frugal use for that. Now, you see, I am just reinforcing that fold that we have already established on our cardstock, and you can see now that it will wrap all the way around and have that nice shiny surface even on the spine. So go ahead and just tip that over and press that again just to make sure that you're a really good contact all the way down. So the two remaining pieces that I have to add to this cover are going to be pocket pages, and that will help to add areas where we can include some additional inserts. And that is what I want to do, add those along with that pre-purchase one from the Dollar Tree. So here is the rest of that cardstock. It is cut to be 6 inches high by 6 inches wide, and then I scored it at 4.5. So this is going to be the full cover here, and I'm going to position this so that my pockets will be going toward the inside, and that will capture those inserts and keep them secure. So of course I want to do my 2 glue combo, and I am just going to bring this corner here in, keeping it straight and even across, and then press that into place so you have a good contact. Before we seal up that pocket, you do want to add your pattern paper inside. And so remember I said earlier that we have a different measurement for that, and this time it is going to be 5 7/8 by 4 3/8. I want my regular border for the inside. And I do want to just get that centered. And then I'll do the same for this side as well. I did cut the background for the outside and the inside cover from the same sheet of paper. So once again, that's a good frugal use for that. And I know if you're like me and you just have to hoard those patterns because they're hard to use, this will be a great excuse to get them out. And then put your pattern on the inside again, nicely centered. I just picked this craft color because I thought it went well with the more nature-inspired like branches in the background. I thought that would work really well. And so now that I have this done, I'm just gonna flip this over and add the covers for the pockets. I just want a slightly different pattern so that it's a noticeable detail. And so I have these cut to be 5 7/8 by 1 3/8. And this is also going to make our pocket just even that much more sturdy. So get that centered and then press that into place. Repeat that on this side. Find it easier to get that flat on the surface. And then position that and adhere it. So now what you want to do is add your Tombow to the very ends here so that you're creating your pocket. Make sure not to get it too close to the edge. You don't want it to squeeze out. And I'm just running a very small line of that glue along there. I'll do both sides and then I will press them in, close up my book, and then add a little bit of pressure just so I know that those two surfaces have a good contact to set up for my glue to dry. So I'm just going to do that, see, and then flip it over, and I will hold this in place just for a bit. I will rejoin you when these are ready to move to the next step. So moving along, I do want to include some elastic. Remember that we have that store-bought planner, and I want to include that in such a way as it would be similar to a traveler notebook so that I can take it in and out of my cover and put it back. So I need to punch a couple holes here, and I just find it is useful to make a little dot where I want to punch my hole. I'll use the smaller end here of my Crop-A-Dile, and that is a perfect size hole for this string to go through. Doesn't even have to be perfect. And I have this elastic stretch cord. This came from the Dollar General, and I am pretty sure that it's just for jewelry making or for beads and something like that, but I find it pretty useful just to have a length of this, and then I will bring it from the inside around the back in through the next hole, and then I'm going to tie my knot here, and I'm not going to go too tight. I don't want to compromise that paper on the spine, but I do want my insert to be very snug. This is just about the end of this piece, so I don't mind getting my knot in the middle there. And then I'll clip off some of the excess, but I'll leave a pretty good sized tail. That way I will be sure that it's going to stay tied securely. So let's just clip that. And then you have a few choices as far as this. And I thought it would be much easier to choose my pattern papers that would coordinate with this cover. And that is because it does have some elastic feature here that would normally be stretched around to keep it well closed. But the thing is this eyelet is going to leave a lump. So if you want to cover it with paper, you have to be mindful of that. So I chose my paper to coordinate, and I don't have to change out the cover with new paper. So I'll just open this up, kind of find the middle here, and then I'll work it underneath that piece And so this is going to be in the center. Wrap that elastic around and anything will be well secured. So choices for these pockets are going to be additional inserts like I'm going to show you today. But I think also if you are taking this in your bag, you see how this is nice and compact and it will be easy to take in and out. You could put your receipts in here, or you could put your coupons in here, or anything that is kind of flat that you want to keep with your lists and your planner. That would be perfect for that. And so I have created an insert for that, and you see I did match my paper so that everything would coordinate well. And I have used that same elastic as a binding. In previous listers, we have used a long arm stapler so that these would be attached, but I think that not everyone has those, so I wanted to show you some options on how you could bind this without it. You could also use an awl here and punch through and then stitch it. So that would be a little bit more permanent, but because this is elastic, you could remove these center section and then refill it. So this would be pretty practical because you could continue using it as it is. Because this is the one I'm going to keep for myself, I'll probably go back and add staples just because I have plenty of that cardstock to use up. So let's tuck that into the pocket here. You see how nicely that is secured. And then I would create one for this side as well. I'm just using my regular old printer paper and I cut it in half and I'll fold that. You see, this is 5 sheets. I wouldn't go more than that because it would cause a problem for my guillotine cutter. And that's what I want to do to clean up all the edges, because you see, once you start folding it, it does create an additional layer here, and I want it to be nice and even. So I have taken the remainder of the paper from the other side and I've cut that to be 5 1/4, and it's just the full width, and I scored it at 6 so that I could get this position exactly right in the middle. You see, and then I'm going to come in with my guillotine cutter and trim off the excess. And so my goal is for this to wind up being 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. So we'll just slide that in. I have a pretty good paper trimmer here, so I know that this will get through. I don't want to go Hulk smashing through there. I'll just take little bits at a time to make sure everything stays nice and even. You see, and then I have a nice clean finish edge. If you have a lot on the top or the bottom, you could do that as well. So I'm going to go back to that same stretch cord, and once again I've just got this pretty much to the end. You may hear a little bit of tippy taps in the background. We have our grand dog here for a couple of months, and she likes to come down in the basement and make sure that everything is good. So we're going to welcome Willow to the Polly's Paper Studio crew. Everybody say hi to Willow. Okay, this is Jenny from the future. I realized that using that guillotine cutter shook my filming area and it turned off my phone. And I did see that we got all the important information. And we're all going to go down in the comment section and welcome Willow, but I'll just show you how that looks with the other insert included. And so this did get nice and bulky and thick. It's going to be so practical and nice just to throw in my bag when I leave, and I can have my lists and my calendar here and the pockets for my coupons or my receipts. Now, I have made an additional one here. I just wanted to make sure those measurements were right, and so I would probably just go ahead and finish this out on the pockets. I only had one of those planners from the Dollar General, from the Dollar Tree, and so I will either go back and look for another one, or I can just make this as a lister and put 3 inserts in, and that way I can get some use out of this one as well. So that's going to be it for our tutorial today. I sure hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Check in the description for links. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.